Now we're going to go to my own problem of plumbing. Last couple of weeks, we've had tremendous problems in Montreal area of frozen plumbing and pipe splitting and hundreds of houses with flooding problems. So I come home one night, well, actually not come home. I get up in the morning and my water shut off. Why is my water shut off? That causes a certain question, but one of the things I want to show you about water being shut off is I have this valve in the basement. This is called Aqua Trip, and you can actually go to my website, look up valves, and you'll see, let's see, what is this article? This article says stopping plumbing floods. So it talks about several different things, but the Aqua Trip is a little computer. There's a computer on board here, and it's connected up to a control box in my front door. And this thing senses all the water going through the house, and it then knows whether that water should be going through the house or not. That may sound strange, but it could actually, when I first installed it, I had a leaky flap in the toilet, and I said, I'm not going to fix it until I install this. I want to know if it will sense the leaky flap. And yes, water running for 20 minutes while I'm at home and nobody's using the water. This thing says the water should not be running for 20 minutes. It shuts it off. And in fact, if it's a shower, at 15 minutes, it shuts it down just like this. So it wakes you up and says, okay, I got 5 more minutes to finish this shower. Or I can turn the water off and get another 20 minutes. But it will shut it down. If every time I go away from the house, I hit a button and it shifts to 5 minutes. So 5 minutes of water flowing someplace, it shuts it down. Well, it had shut it down 3 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't find water anywhere. So I turned it back on and I looked all over for water, couldn't find it. All day long it didn't shut it down. Next day it shut it down again. There's something going wrong. And we still didn't find it. We hunted all over the place and we still didn't find it. And finally the next day my wife calls me and she says, hey, there's some water in the basement coming out under the washing machine. So I said, okay, that's where it is. Probably the hoses or something like that. So I went in to investigate just what it was, and I had a most interesting experience. This was one of the elbows, actually there are 2 elbows. The piping came like this. So it came down from the valve, came over here and went back up to the washing machine. So it was dropped down like this and had water flowing through it. Well, there was a spray of water coming out so fine that sometimes this valve didn't get it and sometimes it did. And I didn't even know that. I just mopped up the floor, pulled the washing machine out, mopped up the floor. It was just in a spot and it wasn't very heavy, so it didn't do any damage. But I couldn't figure out where it's coming from until I felt something on the back of my hand, and I just traced it up to this elbow. And then I started investigating and said, there is something coming out, but a mist so fine that I can't even see it. I can just sense it and it collects on the floor. So we turned the water off, we tore it all apart, replaced the whole bottom of this piping, and then I went to the shop. And in the shop, I did this. I cut this thing open to see what was going on, and then I removed half of it like this. And there were a couple of things down here. First of all, there was this piece sitting in the corner. Great big hunk. There was some other smaller stuff that has disappeared since then, but sitting in there. So there was quite an accumulation all through this elbow of water of minerals. And then when I looked really hard, I was finally able to spot that there was a hole in there that we couldn't see very well. And if you look here, I want to show you one thing. If I hold this just right, I think you'll see the thickness of the wall right here. That's the good pipe up above. It's thicker here where there's 2 pieces that are together. And then you can sense it's starting to get thinner. And it actually is less than half the wall thickness down here. Because all of this mineral deposits, which were stuck in the corner, had caused erosion and were eating away at the copper until it wasn't a frozen pipe. It just ate away until it finally got through. The water valve shut it off, probably moved a little bit of this garbage with the shock of turning it off, And that plugged the tiny hole, because since then I put the wire in, the hole got bigger. But that plugged the tiny hole, so now it was still leaking, but not enough for the valve to find it. It was so small, it took us days to find it. Okay, I want to show you. I like playing with different cameras, and so I really want to show you a camera here, because I have a little camera that's halfway between a regular camera and a microscope. And you can see we get very small here. And now you can see the hole up here. It's right there. And see how thin that is compared to the rest of it? And so it's wearing through in these various places. Look at all that accumulation of junk. Pipes can wear through from the inside out. Isn't that amazing? I love little cameras. They will sneak in and look at this kind of a thing, even if I have to cut the pipe open to get there. Now, I want to show you one other thing here, is that years ago we had found the same similar problem in plumbing. George Brown College helped me to develop this article where I raised the question with them about why does my soldering job leak and why is lead-free solder hard to work with and new products to make life easier. Okay, so lead-free solder was a problem. But while we were dealing with this, and by the way, if you read this article, you'll understand how to work with lead-free solder. But right here is a picture that we got out of George Brown College. If you take a look here, where there's that red dot, in fact, if I open that up a little bigger, it would help. This red arrow shows you erosion. And right here, what do we have? A burr on the pipe. Okay? And the water is flowing this way, jumping over that burr and coming down. You're always told when you're doing plumbing that you take off the rough edge on the outside, but you also take off the rough edge on the inside. And so many people don't do it because it doesn't get in the way. Why should I bother? This is why you bother. The turbulence caused by water, particularly if it has minerals in it, actually comes here, jumps over and hits the wall, and this wall can actually wear totally through and the joint leak a few years later because you didn't take the burr off. You had a perfect solder job, but you didn't take the burr off. So we have these strange things we learn as we try to solve problems there.